Hi guys, I'm Sushmita.
Hey guys, I'm Shalini. Welcome to our podcast, Fashionably Awkward.
We are two ordinary yet awkward girls in our 20s chatting about reality behind the whimsical world of fashion, marketing, and lifestyle.
We have a lots of stories and tips to share for aspiring designers and fashion enthusiasts around the world.
Grab your cup of coffee, tea, water, or whatever for this roller coaster ride.
Hi guys, welcome back to Fashionably Awkward podcast. Today we are joined by an exciting guest. In fact, our very first guest on this podcast. She's an author and a fashion entrepreneur and a fashion enthusiast. Her name is Alicia, and she'll be telling us about her upcoming book. The name of the book is Healthy Fashion: A Deeper Truth, and we're excited to have her on today.
So, the book Healthy Fashion, The Deeper Truth is about innovative ways of advancing fashion. It inherently intervenes all the things about fashion and also aims to achieve a circular, new, and healthy approach in the field of fashion. Thank you so much for joining us, Alicia. And so, without further delay, let's kickstart this episode by knowing more about.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me, I'll add. My name is Alyssa Couture, and I am the founder owner of Healthy Fashion Campaign, and I'm the fashion author of Healthy Fashion. And Healthy Fashion is all about fashion for your mind, body, and health. It's a holistic approach and an alternative therapy. I kind of take it as a way to use fashion and apparel as a tool for awakening, a tool for an enlightenment, and a tool as a way and form of medicine, a medicinal approach of wearing clothing to heal the body, heal the mind, heal the soul. And I call healthy fashion also multi-dimensional fashion, meaning I bring the approach of fashion as in relation to the mind, the mental body, the physical body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, and the energetic body, because we have all of these different bodies within our being.
Right.
And when we choose to use fashion as a modality, as a healing modality, we take it into a different approach. And there's a lot of different holistic avenues out there and holistic industries that are branching out into many different industries. The vehicles, they're making the hybrid vehicles with the vegetable based gasoline,
Right.
or I don't know, they're using electricity for gasoline instead of the diesel oil. In the grocers, they're using more holistic plant-based varieties versus the artificial products. In all of these different industries, even in the music industry, they're using classical music
Right.
or nature sounds or instrumental experimental music. We're having all these different industries approaching their topics of interest, their subjects, and bringing them into a holistic approach. And with fashion, the fashion industry, as you both will agree, it has been slightly corrupted. There's a lot of imbalance involved in the industry. It's not we're not really taking advantage of using fashion to balance us for well-being in that approach. Of course, fashion is such an enormous inspiration to all of
Hmm.
us, and right now fashion always moves. Fashion will never not be healing. It's been healing us since the ancient
Right.
times. But what this book is about of healthy fashion is bringing our new approach to fashion within marketing, advertising, how we are designing the product, how we're producing the product, how we are creating it, and how we are reflecting on it. Because when we activate the consciousness of choosing to look and observe and feel the power of clothing, it can change the industry and it can change our lives.
Exactly. Exactly.
Totally agree with you.
Exactly. And I also feel that fashion can change the relationship that we have with our body, mind, and soul. So that speaks about a lot of how like we are changing after COVID, and after like this long break. So I think that is also a great approach.
Exactly. Yes. With the whole COVID, it's going to launch the sustainable and eco and circular movements into the health approach, because sustainable and eco fashion is so much about the environment. And what I talk about with fashion being more towards healing the body, it actually extends itself into the environment, heals the environment, even surpasses the sustainable movements to a degree.
Yes.
But we're all here together. Even the conventional fashion, what we really have to do is bring the conventional fashion, bring it into the conventional fashion market in order to reach the masses, to reach everybody.
Yeah, right. And now people have started acknowledging it more when it comes to holistic approach in fashion. And like earlier, it wasn't so prominent when it comes to acknowledging holistic approach in fashion industry or in fashion stream. People were unaware about few things like how fashion can also impact your mind, both body and soul, and how a cloth that you wear can make you feel. So now we can see that advancement in the way people think or how they dress up. So it is happening post COVID
Yes.
more, right? That
Yes,
acknowledge.
absolutely. It's like a transition. It's like a natural
Yeah,
approach of where we're going,
right.
even with, yes.
With the gist of the book that we go through from your document, we observe that there is a strong correlation of metaphysics and fashion. So could you just shed some light on that?
Yes, I have actually gained inspiration living at multiple ashrams and monasteries. I lived and worked in multiple ashrams and monasteries, and it gave me more of that spiritual, holistic perspective of bringing in sort of the metaphysical, light-filled um, types of topics. And some things like fashion and the aura. We have the fashions and our chakra and our energy body. I actually am a energy healer, so that's another sort of profession that I do. I work with energy, and so a lot of this information that I talk about is how we can use fashion as a way to literally metaphysically treat the body, metaphysically treat the energy body, and how our materials can actually expand the aura or shrink the aura depending on the types of materials that we wear. And there's two terms in the Indian Sanskrit, tamasic and sattvic, I believe.
Yeah.
Tamasic means toxic, and sattvic
Pure.
means of light, like healthy, right?
Yeah, it basically
Tama-
means pure. Sattvic is pure and tamas is
Pure, exactly. Yes, tamasic and sattvic. So
yeah.
I actually researched a little bit of that, and I found out that cotton is sattvic, it's
Yes.
pure, and polyester is tamasic. It's toxic because it is unbreathable, and there's some properties of it that shouldn't necessarily mean we should wear it, because
Exactly.
ergonomically speaking, it's not designed to be worn, even though I do wear it from time to time because we're living on this planet and there's just such a demand for it. I mean, 90% of our fashion industry is made out of petroleum oil, which needs to change, and I do talk about that a lot in the book. So with you talking about multi-dimensional fashion, again, we're talking about the aura, how it can shrink and expand. We can talk about the divine energy of clothing and apparel, and how we can dress in a divine spiritual way, and this can bring us into states of enlightenment. And I also take inspiration from all of the gurus and the monks and the high priests and priestess. They all wear beautiful robes and they wear beautiful cotton fabrics, and this silhouette can also be adapted for mainstream life if we don't want to dress in that way. But
Right.
those types of garments are actually a prayer and a blessing that I have received. When you actually observe the robe and the garment, you actually receive a blessing from it. So there's lots of different ways that we can take fashion into a metaphysical approach. I've also suggested that fashion can also be like a crystal. If metaphysically speaking, the crystals absorb energy, and when we put on the cellulose fibers, typically the plants and minerals, they act as a way to absorb the energy, whether it be typically the toxic emotions, and it can cling into the fibers, and it can be sort of like purifying our body as we wear the fibers. And then when we go to launder the fibers, in hypoallergenic laundry detergents, in water, it then cleanses the fibers, and it cleanses away the negative energies that or the residual energies from the day. So that's what I'm talking about with metaphysics. There's different types of symbols as well that we can take advantage of. Esoteric symbols, the stars, the spiral, different things, and we can adapt it in a modern way, because I am super about high fashion. I absolutely love the luxury industry. I can tell from your pictures that you love the high luxe fashion industry, and I do too. And I think that that's actually, they're one of the most creative centers of fashion. They influence the entire industry. So when we can adapt into those types of works and bring the multidimensional fashion to them, which it does occur already, it's just very niche, it's very minor, and we kind of want to bring it to the mainstream.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and I totally agree with your point, like how you said that some fabrics are designed in a way and they have such properties that can make you feel such at ease. And also the fact that they are not visible changes that you might see, but over the period of time of say few months, you will observe that how good you feel wearing certain fabrics like cotton, muslin, and all those fabrics that make your body feel breathable and at ease all the time. So definitely this is something that is in the future, and that I think more and more people can get to know about after like reading your books.
Yeah, so I really like the point that you highlighted, that the Sattvic, Tamas, and Rajasic part also plays an important role when it comes to choosing fabric. And I totally agree that cotton is the purest form of fabric. So when you wear it, your mind, the healthiest form of mind is when it is in the Sattvic form, as they say in Ayurveda. So it does impact a lot, the way you choose your fabric and how it is going to impact your mind and help you in your fixing your doshas. So whenever any of your dosha is aggravated and you feel like um, how your clothing will help you, reduce your aggravation of dosha. So cotton or fabric which is pure, linen, cotton, or any fabric which is made out of plant like eucalyptus, banana, or hemp, they all help you to fix your doshas. So I love that you highlighted those points, and I hope to see more of those points in your book.
Yes, you will. You will certainly see those points. And
Yeah.
exactly, I agree with both of you. There's the times are changing, and we're heading into a industry that's much more therapeutic.
Yeah.
We're taking, because I have a background of herbalism as well, and so when we take the hemp, the rami, the bamboo, the
Yeah.
nettle, the peanut, all of those different plant fibers,
Mhm.
when we launch those, and we don't just stress cotton and linen plants, when we bring in lots of different types of plants, and even seaweed, algae, we can start harvesting more seaweed for fibers for plant textiles. I do have that approach in my book, where we don't just use one two plants, cotton, linen, which is the mainstream
Hmm.
plant-based fabrics. Even though I love cotton and linen, I love cotton and linen, but we use multiple different plants in order to balance out the ecosystem, to bring in more ecology, to bring in more permaculture, to advance society. It will advance society when we modernize plants as the major force field, you know, and conductor for healing and for fashion. And I think that's one of the missing links for us, is that, you know, only 10%, 5 to 10% of the industry is made up of plant-based fibers, and 90% is synthetic. So we're really dealing with a type of material that we just don't want to wear it anymore. It was really only designed since the 1930s. Before then, it was always hemp fabric, which was predominant. But like I said, we have to go into the route, like both of you have agreed and said, you both believe it to be true, that plant-based fabrics are the future.
Exactly. So what are some of the other topics that you are covered in this book?
Yes. So I talk about fashion and metaphysics, fashions and spirituality. I talk about fashion and sustainability, environment. I talk about fashion and luxury. Fashion, high fashion and low fashion, and balancing out the fashion. I talk about greenwashing myths, so fashion and greenwashing myths that we can, you know, uncover and sort of get past. I also talk about the psychology of fashion. There's one comment I got a review from someone who was reading an ARC copy of the book, an advanced reader copy at NetGalley. They said there's a world of fashion in the book. There's a whole world of fashion. There's so many different topics and concepts. I like to be very theoretical. I like to theorize fashion, so you'll find a lot of theory. Fashion and Ayurveda is an ancient system, and I talk about fashion and Ayurveda. I talk about fashion and the Jungian, Jungian or Jungian, whichever you'd like to prefer saying, concepts. The theorist and philosopher Carl Jung, believe it's Jung, not Jung. He invented the archetypes, and I created a little bit of a way to observe and perceive fashion through the archetypes versus the stereotypes. So rather than calling someone a jock, we can use the archetypes and go further and observe the fashion and see that he is an adventurer, because jock is sort of minimizing and sort of narrowing in on what we're actually seeing. So I'm kind of deepening the perspective of fashion through the archetypes. So there's a lot that I cover, and I believe there's enough information to get a real grasp of the future of fashion.
All the topics that you just now mentioned sound very interesting, and I just can't wait to get my hands on the book, because I'm very intrigued to know, you know, how all these terms are related to each other. And so why did you decide to write this book? What was the inspiration behind?
Yes, that's a good question. So basically, it sort of was a lifestyle. It brought me into the realm after I was designing my small handmade fashion brand. I had to move and travel a lot, so I couldn't really carry my sewing machine with me. So I'm like, you know what? Writing is the perfect way to get involved into fashion, and I've always loved writing. I used to write short stories all the time and poetry, and so I've been a writer at heart. And so when I did a lot of research on fashion, I remember I also had a little fashion blog before I started writing the book, an eco-fashion blog. I was really heavily involved in the sustainable fashion and eco-fashion movement. However, it just wasn't enough for me. I feel like it was a little bit it wasn't giving me enough of a fashion approach that I really wanted to delve into. So that's when I started kind of creating some philosophical points on fashion and trying to delve into some ideas that are more holistic. And I've always been into, health and alternative healing and metaphysics. So that really got me into bringing this book to light. And I did go to fashion design school, Academy of Art University. I produced a fashion show in 2014. So I've been into fashion retail for quite some time. So I love fashion. I love everything about fashion, and writing this book is that sort of taking tidbits of all of my different life experiences and all of my fashion thoughts and everything and ideas.
I would really love to read it to know more about, what you have learned throughout your whole journey. Just now you said that you have worked in various segments, retail, and then you also had your own brand. You have also directed, and so it's a variety of things. So I think for the readers and listeners, they would grasp a lot of knowledge in terms of all sectors of fashion. So I think that would be great. And what is like the main heart of this book?
Well, I would say it's definitely fashion for healing and health and well-being, and fashion for balance and fashion for harmony, fashion that can sort of go against the corruption, go against the evil, fashion that is light filled, fashion that is divine and spirit filled. I want to bring, the deeper truths of fashion into light. So I'm talking about fashion on a level that it is deep, but it's not so deep that we can't connect with it. I'm just trying to also bring about the deeper connection that we have to fashion and identify, let the readers identify with their fashion and sort of activate consciousness. So the book is supposed to be designed to activate fashion consciousness.
I most definitely feel that after reading the book, people will develop a sort of fashion consciousness and they will become more mindful with their choices. And like we have seen people before COVID or maybe a few years back that they haven't been so aware about, fashion. They have always associated it with glamour or something which you can't be conscious about, or go all in about it, and you cannot be mindful with your choices. But your book is definitely bringing a different perspective, and I hope that more people get to read this and understand it, the core of it, the main information that you are trying to convey. However, after all these points, I feel there must be some challenges you must have faced while writing this book. So what were those challenges?
Yes, that's a great question. I believe it was just writing to me is very taxing. There's so many little details. So when I wrote the book, you have to read it 100 times over. And for me to reread the book, it was very challenging. But I always had to fill in more thoughts and ideas and really define the book and make it really good, something that you want to read. So I would agree that some of the challenges of writing this book was just sitting down and taking the time to research, taking the time. And I'm going to be in the works. There's going to be a second book in the works. And that's going to be not a series, but it's going to be in relation to the first book. But I don't know if I've showed you the book. This is the sample copy, and this is it's 328 pages, and it's published by John Hunt Publishing. They're based in the UK and Washington DC, US, and they're a great publishing company because this book is published in 35 different bookstores that I've been able to Google. And I think there's more. Those are just the ones I found in Google. So this is going to be a widespread book all over the world. India, UK, Europe, US, Spain, everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. So I'm really looking forward to that. But the challenging part for yes, it was writing in the
Yeah.
details. It was the nitty-gritty details that really got me, but I carried on, and it was a special time. And I do love writing, but there's a grinding part where it's just you really have to read it over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to prove.
The book looks amazing, by the way, and I'm pretty sure, like, because it's a book, you have to like read it a lot of times, and you yourself might have get tired. Oh, how many times I'm going to read it? But I think when you hear the responses from like various countries, it would be an amazing feeling to get the response and know how people relate to the book differently in different states and countries. So that's great. Moving on from this, exactly for whom have you written this book? Like, what is like your target audience?
That's a really good question. And I would say definitely fashion industry professionals, fashion industry enthusiasts, people who are very enthusiastic and choose fashion as a hobby. So anyone interested in fashion, because if you're not interested in fashion, it may not be the most suitable, because it's so thoroughly enthralled in the world of fashion with the different fashion topics and concepts. But if you are environmentalist, it may actually be interesting. And if you just want to learn about fashion and you're new to fashion, that also is, going to be a good choice for you, because it talks about fashion in a way that you may have never experienced. So it's sort of an experience, this book is. It's not just a book of information, it's a fashion experience.
Exactly. I think it's a very forward thinking perspective book. Like it makes you think about what could be the future. So it might interest a lot of groups, fashion enthusiasts, people who are, thinking of studying fashion in future. Even they might be interested in something like this.
Exactly. Yes, definitely for fashion students. Yes, it was a learning curve for me writing the book, because this was all new information that I have either found or both knowledge and wisdom combined. Some of it was introspective and other bits of it was just what's out there and what we don't often see in the mainstream. So we're getting information sort of like an activation, a fashion activation, and as I had said previously, more fashion consciousness.
Right.
So, what can the readers hope to learn from this book? I know we have already discussed most of the points, but still there is something which you would like to add to it that they can hope to learn.
Yes. Well, I would hope that they would learn basically the health perspective of how fashion can treat our body. In that way, and on a social level, on an economical level, on a physical level, on environmental level, on emotional and energetic levels, on spiritual levels. So I'm talking in many different directions. So I'd like the reader to get a holistic, vast perspective on fashion as a whole, so that they can feel empowered by their wardrobe and empowered by other people's wardrobes.
Yeah, after reading this book, I feel they will have a better knowledge of, utilizing their wardrobe efficiently and understanding fashion in a better way with everything included, like the society and economy and their own body. So they will understand it better and make good choices.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So when is this book actually coming out? What is the release date of this book?
The release date is December 1st, 2021, which is in a few months away.
Hmm. Okay. I see.
We will
And
be
it's been on pre-order. Yes, it's on pre-order right now, but the book actually releases
Okay.
December 1st. Yes.
Okay. And
All
it's
right.
covering like many different countries, right?
Yes, it should be. I'm hoping it should be in every country. I don't believe it may not be. It's online. It's available online. If it's not in a bookstore close to you, it will be available
Mhm.
online, digitally and physically for purchasing a physical copy.
Okay.
And you can find that
Wow.
at the major bookstores called Barnes and Nobles, IndieBound, and Amazon.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Perfect.
Perfect.
Mm.
We will be eagerly waiting for it to come out.
Oh, thank you
I
so much.
So, with that, let's jump on to our next segment, which is our game segment. So, for this episode, we have divided it into two segments. For the first segment, we both will name a few colors, and we would like to tell you that what these colors signify in the world of fashion. So, Sush, would you like to go first? Would you like to name the color
Yeah,
which
sure.
you
I
have
can
chosen?
definitely start. Okay. So the first color that comes to my mind is purple.
Okay. For me, I believe purple is a force of power and a force
Mm-hmm.
of enlightenment. There's different types of approaches that we can take to symbolize colors with our wardrobe, and there's
Mm-hmm.
emotional
Yeah.
connection to it. There's an emotional piece. So for me, I believe purple is a very empowering color. It's a very powerful color, and it speaks of enlightenment.
Okay, so for me, I have chosen white.
So for white, I would say it is a color of purity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a color of modernity. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very modern color. Uh, it's very pure. It is also connected to the states of divinity and
Mm-hmm.
enlightenment. Emotionally, it's I would say it's purification. I think it's known very quite clearly that white is a
Mm-hmm.
purifying color, as we know,
Right.
and purple emotionally is sort of it kind of has a sense of intensity which allows
Mm-hmm.
emotions to release. So purple is emotionally releasing, and white would be emotionally purifying.
Okay.
Okay.
Amazing. Amazing. What about brown?
Brown has a very modern sense to it. There's modernity,
Mm.
stability. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there is a sense of earthiness, but there's also a sense of cosmic consciousness to it
Mm-hmm.
because of the planets
Mm.
connected with the tones and hues of brown. So I would say
Mm-hmm.
it's a high realm color, and it's also a grounding earthy color.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I would say with brown, emotionally speaking,
Mm-hmm.
it would stabilize people, balance people,
Mm-hmm.
wellness, wholeness, balance, grounding. Um, Not just because the earth and soil is brown, but
Mm-hmm.
in
Certainly.
a perspective where when we connect with nature and those colors and tones, so bring that up, because a lot of the color psychology that I connect with, air, earth,
Mm-hmm.
and I associate fire with red,
Yeah.
green, plants, and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
I do talk about fashion and the elements and those
Mm-hmm.
colors combined.
Yeah. Actually, I'm enjoying this game and I could play this whole day. But since we have to end segment, so I would just like to throw the last color at you, which is the Pantone color of the year 2021. So this year we have two color combined together, yellow and the ultimate gray.
Yes,
So yeah.
yes. So that would be the air element
Mhm.
and associated with galactic cosmic consciousness. Air, yellow and gray are very galactic cosmic colors.
Okay.
Yellow is a color of happiness. Gray
Mm-hmm.
is a very modern color. It brings us into a sense of mood of luxury and modernity and contemporary arts. So we're dealing with the element air, we're dealing with the cosmic consciousness, and we're dealing with contemporary modernity with
Mm-hmm.
the Pantone colors of the year. Yes, I love those two colors very, very much.
Yeah. Yeah, they look so complementary together and so nice. We do love it. So,
Yes.
moving on to the second part of the game, now we will pick a few fashion accessories or garment, and we would like to tell you how you feel about it in just one word. So, I'll go first. Outfit is shoulder pads in the blazer,
Power.
Second would be belted body armors.
Authority.
then stockings.
Maybe alluring.
And makeup.
Mhm.
That's a tough one. I would say beauty.
Definitely. We will move on to our next segment. That is our fashionably awkward stories. Generally, we do this segment where we ask guests to, tell one of their fashionably awkward stories that they have experienced or they have observed. So, if you don't mind, could you share something with us?
Yes, I have one that comes to mind very strongly. When I was in college, in my early teens, early 20s, I had a
Mm-hmm.
pair of rock and roll boots, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know why I bought these things, but they were like a reddish cherry, like uh, wood color, and they protruded out with this triangle piece on the bottom, no, on the tip. So they looked huge on me for one, because they had an extra 2 to 3 inches on the
Mm-hmm.
shoe, but it was like one of those leather rock and roll, like grunge types of boots
Yeah.
that make you look like you're a rock star. And I don't know
Yeah.
what got into me to wear those, but I wore them, and I it was a little awkward, but it wasn't. I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Probably just a phase. We all go through weird phases in our, early 20s and maybe late teenage phase. So yeah, it's totally fine. Now we can make it awkward stories out of all those moments.
Ex- exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this and taking the time out of your schedule and to be with us and record this episode. We too enjoy to connect with other people who are interested in fashion and and see it as a work as a team, and have a holistic approach towards fashion and other aspects of life. So it was our pleasure to have you, and we can't wait to read your book. And we wish you good luck and hope to record more episodes with you.
I just wanted to let everyone know, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me, ladies. I really appreciate being on your show. It's been so lovely. And I hope that, based on what I've observed, you guys are both very fashion savvy, and you're very, you're fashion professionals. And I really appreciate that, because I love to talk to other fashion, you know,
Mhm.
professionals that are so observant of these times and the fashion mood and moment. So it's been great.
So, for our listeners, I would just like to say that if you want to reach out to Alyssa and ask any question to her, please head to Instagram and follow her page. It's called HF Campaign. HF is Healthy Fashion Campaign. Would you like to mention any other social media handle?
Sure. Well, you can reach me as well at my website, www.hfcampaign.com. I also have a Facebook. If you go to my website, all my social media handles are on the top. So
Yeah.
www.hf, as in healthy fashion campaign.com, all of my social media handles are on the top. I have YouTube, which is somewhat new. And then I have Facebook, Healthy Fashion Campaign, Facebook. Instagram is one of my favorites. It's a very visual type of platform. So
we will make
Amazing.
sure to mention all the pages on our Instagram. Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much.
Great, great. It was a pleasure talking to you, and we cannot wait to get our hands on the book. Thank you so much for taking the time out. And it was a great session, learning session for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being a part of our fashionably awkward banter.
You can listen to this podcast on all podcasting platforms such as Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.
Drop us a 5-star rating and comment. Let us know what it is that you would like us to talk about on this podcast.
Or you can text us on 984. Just kidding. You can get in touch with us on Instagram at fashionably.awkward. We are super active on Insta, so come say hi.
Doodles!